welcome to our farm. We've only been here a couple months, but we thought it would be fun and hopefully helpful for everybody else if we showed you around before we do anything. Well, let's go.
So there's lots of projects we have planned for this property. Starting out, a small one, I say small, it's actually fairly large. This trail of leaves that you see in front of us leading towards that tree is a washout that acts a bit like a creek for us that wanders well beyond that tree. We intend to eventually turn it into something like a dry creek bed, bringing in some rocks from the local area. And that will be dug out well beyond this tree around the bend. We'll talk more about that as we get down there.
Take note of the tree. We're going to call it a wayfinding tree because this property sprawls quite a bit. So you can see this kind of dark patch there. That's part of the creek, the dry creek bed that we're talking about. We're going to have to clear that out. And then as we wander further this way, you'll notice that there's two trees there in the center. Straight through those trees is actually more of our property.
Back in that area, there's actually a bunch of river cane we're pretty excited about having, even though it's going to be a bit of labor to keep it back there.
As we come around this corner here, you'll see more of that creek bed, that kind of washout on the left. We're going to clear all of this, hopefully plant some mosquito repellent plants like citronella or maybe some bee balm, lavender possibly, and further along here, we're going to add in a koi pond and a bridge so that it'll be easier to get to from the other side closer to the house. And then this space that's narrowing is leading into what's going to be called Neen's Nook. So here will be a lot of cut flowers, edible flowers, sun catchers, and back in here we'll have tea-friendly plants, and on the right, where you really can't see it right now, there's going to be a crepe myrtle and jasmine, like I said, more bee balm, marigolds. We're going to cut up this tree that's fallen and plant a willow. And then here in this alcove that's kind of hidden, we're going to put a studio for me.
So here off the wayfinding tree and to the left of it over the creek, this open space here will be used for our berries, strawberries, blackberries, and blueberries are kind of our starting point, potentially even grapes eventually.
Snozberry.
And we intend for that to bleed a little bit over the bridge that we discussed. Which will be over the koi pond here on the right. We will dig this out. I'm going to make a koi pond with a bit of a bow in the middle of it and then build a bridge over where you can eat berries as you make your way into the Neen Nook. So we've kind of named all of our locations, or most of our locations throughout the property. And this little bend here we've decided to call Bee Bend. Now, bees are something we've talked about and something we will most likely do in the future. That is definitely a down the road project. We've also talked about potentially putting the rabbits back here eventually.
there you can see the house, and we'll come back to the garden. This is just giving you an idea of how sprawling the property really is.
You see around the base of most of these trees, they're overgrown, and that's a project that we've started on early, is trying to cut some of that back to reclaim some of the property. There's actually a very large down tree off to the right here that separates some of these bins, and we intend to clean up to it, but potentially leave it there as a divider of spaces.
I mentioned the property sprawling. Here's yet another alcove. This one is our compost corner.
I've made a 2-bay compost setup with pallets, and actually have a couple pallets over there and intend to put a 3rd bay on it. We would like the idea of being able to use all of everything that we can, as minimal waste as possible. And so our way to do that here is to compost all of our organic matter. That's our property line along that fence.
And this hill needs a name. This is where we're going to be putting 2 tiny homes, hopefully, for our moms. So if you guys have any good names, preferably with alliteration, I really like alliteration, will you comment those down below? Give us some ideas. We need help.
Down this hill, you'll see the start of our garden beds. I've built 4 12-foot by 3-foot beds. It's going to be where we start. I definitely intend to expand to eventually even having an in-ground. Up there where the road is, we intend to place a small fruit tree orchard where we're wanting to start with Arkansas black apples, cherry trees, and some fig trees. These beds here we built out of 2x6s, and then have placed cardboard down to kill off some of the grass, and it'll eventually deteriorate down. So this space here we intend to keep some chicken tractors and rabbit tractors for grow out pens. So this spring we will get some chickens, and eventually we'll wind up with more rabbits, obviously. We'll use this whole empty space to include that little burn patch there. That was an overgrown area. All the way up to beside the back of the house, and all the way down to around the gardens eventually, I'm sure.
You don't really get a good view of it from here. This is our pear tree. It was the first producer on the property, and it actually produces really good pears. So hopefully we'll be able to get another pear tree, and they'll cross-pollinate for us.
I don't know if anybody noticed actually, but back on that oak tree at the front of the house, we've actually put a swing in right there, and we love sitting under the tree and swinging.
Yes, that little guy loves the swing, and he loves the backyard. That space you see there is dedicated specifically to the kids. We're not going to put any of the farming things there, just so they still have the space to run. But behind these trees that I'm walking towards is one of our current projects, and that is the burn pit. So we're going to take some of the trees around the property that are dying or falling or in dangerous locations, and we're going to cut them and turn them into seating, so the adults can sit around the burn pit while the kids are running amok.
Yes, currently it's filled with a bunch of debris. I figured burning here prevents me from having burn patches all over the yard. But we do enjoy our outdoor space, and we like to be able to enjoy it with others. Here's our wood splitting location. We like to keep the wood burning fireplace inside going in the cold. As you can tell from our attire, it was a very warm December. Walking towards the carport, you can see our first set of livestock, our rabbits. I was lucky to get a really good price on 4 rabbits in this pre-built hutch with a automatic watering system. Some of the rabbits you might have seen before, Thumper and Rhett here. Over on the left is Lola and scarlet who are pregnant at this time. And depending on when this video comes out, hopefully we've already had our first 2 Kindles.
Thanks for watching. And if you want to follow along on the journey, like and subscribe below.
Thank you.